This is the Edgefield Broadcast Network, bringing you the important news of the day.
Don't get it twisted. We are seeing a violation of our justice system. Ladies and gentlemen, you are not allowed to be stripped of every defense that you have. You are not allowed to be told.
All right, so you're getting an idea now about
and
why Donald Trump's attorney is perceived as effective as she is, which is not particularly effective.
It has been an absolute joy to watch Alina Habba fail miserably at being Donald Trump's lawyer and cost him millions in the process. And honestly, no one does it better than her. Boy, oh boy, what is there to say about Alina Habba, other than the fact that she might be Trump's most expensive lawyer to date?
So $65 million in punitives, $11 million in the reputation repair program, and $7.3 million in in the emotional harm, for a total of $83.3 million. That's a high 8-figure award.
But not only is she costly, she might also be his dumbest lawyer so far. I mean, Alina Habba is so dumb, she makes Eric Trump look smart, and that's saying a lot.
My wife and I, Laura and I, were at dinner the other night, and there were two tables that started arguing about paying for our bill. It was a little casual place. They wanted to pay for our bill to say sorry for what the country was doing to my father, to our family. People right now would crawl over broken glass for Donald Trump.
Habba has no idea what she's doing in court. She doesn't know how to follow simple instructions, let alone know how to introduce evidence. Actually, speaking of evidence, after the FBI executed a search warrant at Mar-a-Lago, Habba's genius legal strategy was to float the idea that the FBI actually planted evidence at Mar-a-Lago.
This is a joke. This is memento. And quite honestly, I'm concerned that they may have planted something. You know, at this point, who knows?
And we know this isn't true because Trump told Sean Hannity that he declassified those documents with his mind.
If you're the president of the United States, you can declassify just by saying it's declassified, even by thinking about it.
But according to Habba, there is a simple solution to all of Trump's legal problems.
I've sat across from him every time he gets frustrated. I say to him, Mr. President, if you would like me to resolve all your litigation, you should announce that you are not running for office, and all of this will stop.
Well, actually, now that I think of it, it does make sense, especially after she said this.
Somebody said to me, Alina, would you rather be smart or pretty? And I said, oh, easy, pretty. I can fake being smart.
Alina Habba thought she could fake being smart, but she can't even fake being a lawyer. So if you ever watch Law & Order or Suits, then you're already way more qualified to be a lawyer than Alina Habba. She doesn't even know how to handle discovery. I mean, here's one of Trump's former lawyers, Tim Parlatore, who previously worked on the Mar-a-Lago documents case.
You know, when it comes to this case, I think that in large respect, it's been kind of unled for a while. I mean, I know earlier on, when Ronald Fischetti was on it, he was handling it appropriately. Of course, he unfortunately passed away. But, you know, with Alina Habba handling discovery, you know, that's not, you know, something where I think anybody was really at the wheel.
Alina Habba's only role is to play a lawyer on TV and then attack judges.
But I was told to sit down today. I was yelled at, and I've had a judge who is unhinged slamming a table. Let me be very clear. I don't tolerate that in my life. I'm not going to tolerate it here. And you know what? You shouldn't either.
And when it comes to the E. Jean Carroll defamation trial, Parlatore said Habba was so bad at her job that Trump was essentially undefended.
Certainly, you know, from my perspective, I would regret having her represent him. I mean, I do think that in both of these trials, he was essentially undefended. And so all of these, you know, things that she did throughout the process, I don't think helps at all. In the courtroom, the attorney is the one who should be telling the client, you know, how to act, what to be doing, and everything else. And, you know, one thing I always tell my clients is in the courtroom, there's only 12 opinions that matter, and yours is not one of them.
Honestly, at this point, Trump would be better off hiring someone off the street as his lawyer. But I gotta say, there's something about Trump attracting terrible lawyers. It's like he's catnip for morons. Alina Habba, Christina Bobb, Jim Trusty, Joe Tacopina, Sidney Powell, Rudy Giuliani, and many more. And I don't know if it's because they're incompetent or just desperate to get their 15 minutes of fame, but it's pretty clear they all thought they were gonna get rich and famous representing Trump, but instead, they just ended up broke and infamous. Alina Habba really takes the cake when it comes to Trump's dumb lawyers, and you don't have to look any further than her public meltdown that she had after the $83.3 million jury verdict was delivered.
No, I'm not having any second thoughts about representing President Trump. It is the proudest thing I could ever do.
Well, there you have it, folks. Alina Habba is proud to represent a broke fat rapist. And for any Republicans watching this, Trump did in fact rape E. Jean Carroll.
What I am having second thoughts about is the license that I stand here with.
We are all having second thoughts about our law license.
I have not spoken because I respect my ethics while I'm on trial. Before I walked into court, that judge decided that every single defense President Trump had, we were not allowed to raise in front of the jury. It is in writing, and I encourage the journalists, the real journalists, to take the minute to look at his orders. There was no proof, and I couldn't prove that she didn't bring in the dress. There was no DNA. There was no expert. My experts were denied. Two of them were denied to come in.
So in case you stop listening to Habba's reign in the first 10 seconds, I'll translate for you. It's incredibly unfair that I wasn't allowed to retry the entire case, which was already tried back in May, and my client had already lost when the jury said that he was liable for sexually abusing and defaming E. Jean Carroll. Whew, Habba basically stormed down in front of the press and acted like an angry, obnoxious, and entitled woman, demanding to speak to the manager. You know, sometimes I really can't tell if Habba is actually that dumb or just putting on a show, but then I remember this one time she went on Newsmax in September and said this.
You know, they picked the wrong guy. He is resilient, he is wealthy, and he is strong.
And remember when I said she didn't know basic court procedures? Well, get a load of this.
You are not allowed to be stripped of every defense that you have. You are not allowed to be told that you can't bring it up. And imagine a point where a judge tells the lawyer before your client, the former president of the United States, the leading candidate and obvious nominee for the Republican Party, before he takes the stand to defend himself, Ms. Habba, tell me the questions you're going to ask in open court and tell me exactly what he's going to respond. And then edited my questions, edited the response he was allowed to give.
Again, it's almost like Habba didn't know what this damages trial was for. Trump already had his day in court back in May, and if this was really so important, then he would have testified. But guess what? He didn't. He was too scared. I'll break it down even more for Habba. Trump's guilty verdict was already decided.
When you listen to some of the things Alina Habba says about how they were stripped of the defenses, I mean, that's right, because of the first trial. You know, had they had a different verdict in the first trial, they might have had a different set of circumstances for the second trial. But once you tried a case, you're stuck with that conclusion.
And then, almost immediately after that May verdict, Trump continued to defame E. Jean Carroll during a CNN town hall.
Kind of a woman meets somebody and brings him up, and within minutes you're playing hanky-panky in a dressing room, okay? I don't know if she was married then or not. John Johnson, I feel sorry for you, John Johnson.
Mr. President, can I
think of it.
I know you're recounting what she's...
Trump would then go on to obsessively defame Carroll at every chance he could. And now Trump has found himself with $83.3 million in additional charges on top of the $5 million in charges from May.